Hello, my name is Elizabeth.
And my name is Nick. And today, we will be analyzing the issue regarding the use of animals by humans for personal benefit, looking at specific applications in the fictional Pokemon franchise and the real-life practice of dogfighting. The Pokemon franchise, first coined in 1996 with the release of the games Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green on the Game Boy handheld system, places people in a fictional world where mythical animals and humans interact with each other and live in harmony. Humans capture Pokemon from the wild in small capsules called Pokeballs, and raise them to fight in Pokemon battles against other Pokemon like them. We chose to focus in on this fictional world because even though it is meant just as a fun video game for younger audiences, the series has garnered greater societal and theological discussion about the ethics of capturing/fighting with animals. People from a variety of groups and organizations have criticized the series for promoting the abuse of animals, going against religious fundamentalism, and endorsing gambling practices, among other things.
Dogfighting is a type of blood sport generally defined as two or more game dogs against one another in a ring or a pit for the entertainment of the spectators or the gratification of the dog fighters, who are sometimes referred to as dogmen. In rural areas, fights are often staged in barns or outdoor pits. In urban areas, fights may occur in garages, warehouses, abandoned buildings, back alleys, neighborhood playgrounds, or in the streets. Dogfights usually last until one dog is declared a winner, which occurs when one dog fails to scratch, one dog dies, or one dog jumps out of the pit. Dogfighting generates revenue from stud fees, admission fees, and gambling. We chose dogfighting to compare to Pokemon because it follows the same structure and has been pointed out as a parallel to the practices of the fictional adventure game. Analyzing these situations through the lenses of rights-based theory and the theory of categorical imperative, as well as discussing empathy, ethics, and value judgment in their applications, we can attain a greater understanding of this concept as a whole.
First, we will provide a brief explanation on rights-based theory. In a general sense, rights-based theory revolves around the concept that all humans are given inalienable rights based solely on the virtue of their existence and nothing else. These inalienable rights can be interpreted in different ways by different people, which makes this theory hard to understand and/or justify in some cases.
Now, looking into the concept of categorical imperative, the theory concerns consistency and respect. This was created by Immanuel Kant, coined in 1785. What if everyone did this? Are people treated as ends rather than means? In other words, a moral decision that you make must be made because you think it would be good for everyone to do. This applies to the universal law of nature. Act only in accordance with that maxim through which you can at the same time will that it becomes a universal law.
A key discussion to have when applying this concept to Pokemon is the balance between the rights of the Pokemon and the rights of the trainer. Since this world is fictional and only loosely based on our own world, we can't assume that all of our same rules and societal conventions around treatment of animals apply. So, to gain a better understanding of this, we need to utilize sense perception, one of our ways of knowing, and see what the characters in the Pokemon world say about such things themselves. Throughout its 20-plus year history in multiple installments, the writers have created characters with a wide range of views, some paralleling our own world in certain ways. For instance, there are Pokemon hunters who care little for the well-being and rights of these animals and hunt and kill them for their parts. There are gym leaders who battle with other trainers and their Pokemon as a profession, and there are even animal rights activist groups, such as Team Plasma, that fight for the liberation of Pokemon from trainers. All of these different types of people interpret the innate rights of Pokemon in different ways, making the question of what are the inalienable rights of Pokemon a difficult question to answer. Assumedly, a Pokemon has the right to life, as there are plenty of measures in place in the video games to give Pokemon first aid and medical care, such as Pokemon centers, potions, etc. However, the existence of Pokemon hunters could challenge that, since they take away that Pokemon's life without regard for its feelings. It could be argued as well that Pokemon have the right to coexist, but due to the status quo around capturing/battling Pokemon and the lack of knowledge we have on the biology of these creatures, we can't go much further than this. Although the games portray Pokemon as being able to connect with humans and experience happiness, from an outsider's perspective, one can mainly see a world in which animals are enslaved and forced to fight against other enslaved animals. Now, looking at this issue from the lens of the categorical imperative, we need to determine what is best for both the Pokemon and the Pokemon trainer. This is where the concept of value judgment really comes in. Some people can argue that the lives of Pokemon improve and are ultimately better when they are taken in by a trainer, since they are given access to different amenities that they wouldn't have otherwise in the wild. However, people who take this position are often thinking about this situation from the perspective of the trainer and not the animal. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to get into the minds of these Pokemon, so we can't truly determine what is ultimately the greatest good for them.
Looking into the ethics of dogfighting pertaining to these ethical theories, we can interpret this somewhat similarly to how we analyze Pokemon. What makes it okay to treat these dogs so poorly? The owners of these dogs subject them to horrible living conditions and dangerous fighting that can result in serious injury or death. Dogs are intelligent animals, which are commonly domesticated and kept as pets. What makes some dogs better than others? If we are to treat all dogs equally, then we cannot subject some to terror while others we love unconditionally. We have given dogs innate rights to coexist in harmony with humanity. We care for them and choose not to harm them. But people who participate and endorse dogfighting impose on this right given to these animals. As a society, we have decided that dogs are ultimately good, and the decision to domesticate them is the best moral action taken, according to categorical imperative. Dogfighting goes against this entirely, similarly to how Pokemon also challenges this ethical theory. So how are dogfighting and Pokemon related? Well, for starters, both the game and the sport are fight to win, and for monetary benefit. A trainer or owner of said animal will unleash their animal into a fight with an equal counterpart. The winner earns money, and the loser has to pay. Another similarity between these two situations are the conditions of the animals themselves. Both Pokemon and fighting dogs are bred and raised to only fight. They are also held captive until they are no longer needed, and most of these animals and/or Pokemon are taken without their consent. Pokemon are injured until they are weak and vulnerable and then captured in a Pokeball, while fighting dogs can range from being taken off the street or even stolen. Once these animals are in the arms of their new owner, they are subjected to a multitude of different types of training in order to improve their fighting skills or to level up. The amount of similarities between Pokemon and dogfighting raises the ethical question of whether or not making a video game like Pokemon is ethical in and of itself.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.